Hi everybody, it's Janet and welcome to my channel. Well, today we're going to have a lot of fun making this pop-up flip card. And I found this card instructions and a tutorial from Kim Peck on Split Coast Stampers. I've used basically the same dimensions and measurements. I adjusted to make a few little small changes, but all the credit goes to Kim, and I want to make sure that everyone knows that. I'm using a stamp set from Art Impressions called Frog Set, and it has quite a few little frogs that are adorable, as well as some sayings that go with it. I will include a supply list in my video description box, and also you can find a few more details on my blog. You'll find the link to that in the video description as well. Let's start by taking a look at this card. It's very flat at first, but when you open it up, the center circle pops loose and it tucks in underneath the sentiment, almost like a small easel card. When it's shut, it's very flat and perfect for mailing. So it starts with this circle. I first stamped and colored this image, and then I cut it out with my circle die. I'm going to use some washi tape to secure it to my glass mat because I want to put in a sky background on my character. So I'm going to put in a mask. I made this mask by stamping it and cutting it out with my scan and cut machine actually, but you could just trim it out by hand. And then I'm going to start putting in the sky background using my cloudy stencil from Lawn Fawn. I start with spiced marmalade, and then I'm going to move on to cracked pistachio. And then I'll use squeezed lemonade and finish up again with spiced marmalade. And this is the first time I've used an unusual color combination besides the normal blue, and I like it. It's kind of fun. It's something I've been seeing in my Facebook groups and other places, and I thought I would try it here. And the color scheme works great for it. Once I get the initial color down, I'm going to go back and fill in the white spaces a little bit more. I thought the white was a little bit too stark. So you could see I'm just filling in a little bit over the white to make that a little less bold of a white. I like that a lot better. Now once I remove this, the magic happens and you see the very pretty bold stamped image again, and the background just sets that off nice. Now I use the spice marmalade to highlight the edges of that circle, and now I'm going to work with the paper. This is called Summer Splash from Echo Park. It's a 2018 release, I believe. But I love it. There's a lot of fun retro kind of images in there. And this one reminded me of lily pads, although they're very modern, artistic lily pads, but that's what they looked like to me. So what I did is I just put the piece of paper down temporarily with washi tape. You saw that in both corners. And I've got two circle dies again that I'm going to work with. One is slightly larger than the other, so it's one step up. I'm going to use my Sweet Petunia cut and align rulers. It has a 0 marking in there, so I'm just using that to try to help me get my circle as close to the center as possible. And being that it's a circle, it's a little bit hard to tell from the upper ruler measurement, so I'm also going to take the shorter ruler that comes in this set and just double check it. I love both of these rulers, and it's nice to have a short one and a super long one. The long one's 15 inches and the other one is 6, I believe. So it's really nice for both card making and for scrapbook work. So I ran that through my Big Shot, and I'm going to release the paper that I temporarily adhered with a couple loops of washi tape. And it's amazing how hard that sticks sometimes. But I did get it off, and then the center comes out. I'm not going to be using the centered pattern paper piece in this card, but I am going to save the yellow cardstock. It's going to be used as a base for my stamped image later. So I want to create a little bit of a border so that the yellow cardstock shows through when I put this on. So I'm using a slightly larger circle die. It's next up in the order of my dies, and I'm going to run that through my Big Shot, and that's going to make that center circle just a little bit bigger. And then I will go ahead and put that on my card front. So I can glue this all the way around and around the circle and place it, and should fit perfectly with a nice little border on the edges. So the front is almost ready to go. There'll be just a little decorating left to go. However, I'll wait to do that towards the end of this. I've cut another piece of banana split cardstock at 5 by 4 and I've scored it at 1 inch, 2 inches, and 3 inches. I've also scored it at the top a ½ an inch away from the edge down to that first 1 inch score mark. And I'm going to use those as guides to cut. So I'm going to cut in between those ½ inch vertical score lines, and then I will cut actually right on that ½ inch. And what this is going to do is create a tab at the top. And I'm going to save that center piece because I'm going to cut another mechanism with that. And you'll want to trim that down to 2½ inches in length by 3/4 inches wide, and then score at 1 inch. And this is the tab piece you'll need. So now I'm going to prepare the mechanism. It's a valley fold, then a mountain fold, and then the tabs are folded as valley again. And then this is going to fit inside of the card. The little tab will be folded with the shortest end folding upward, or it'll be, in other words, a valley fold there. And that's going to be the second part of the mechanism. So we're going to use these then now inside the card. To begin with, I've got a 3 by 5 1/4 inch piece of matching cardstock. It's very important just to put the glue in the top corners at this point so that your bottom half is free to move. So granted, that's a little weird having this piece hanging in your circle, so I do need to cut it one more time to get that circle out of the way. If you have very thin paper, you might be able to cut all 3 layers at once. As you recall in the beginning, I cut the first 2 layers and didn't cut this inside layer until now. And that's just because I knew that my die would not cut through all 3 layers very well, so I just did it this way. Kind of improvised to make it work. Now you see the bottom is loose or unattached. There's a very good reason for this because we're going to slip these notches underneath there. And so if it were glued, of course, you couldn't do that. And that is going to hide the tabs completely so that you can't even tell that they're there. And I'm going to apply them inside, making sure they don't show on either side of that circle, and then close the card down to make sure that those tabs are glued in the right place. And I'm double checking the paper to make sure nothing's moved around. They should be, you know, that fold should be flush right up to the edge of the decorative cardstock. And because I'm satisfied with that, now I'm going to go ahead and finally attach the cardstock down, and it will again just completely cover up the tab so that you can't even tell it is there at all. The next part will be securing the bottom of the mechanism, or this fold mechanism as I call it, and I'm just closing it to see where that naturally is going to stop moving. And then I used a pencil to mark it. I bring back my cut no line ruler here and just do a light pencil mark all the way across. And this is going to serve as the locator for where I'm going to put the edge of this cardstock down at. And this will ensure that when I close the card, it is absolutely perfect, that it doesn't bind, that there's no issues with it closing at all. And it does the trick. It's perfect. I've made a few cards now of this style, and this method works extremely well to get everything properly placed. Now I can put on my last decorative piece of cardstock. It is the same size as the other piece, so it is 3 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and it's going to leave just a slight border around the 3 edges, just like it did on the top. So it works quite nicely. All right, we're getting closer. Now it's time to put in that little tab mechanism that I made earlier. So let's bring this in, and what we're going to do is glue it to the center of this shelf that we've created. Really, it's the 3D part of the card. I used the ruler to find the center of that, and I used my glue to mark it. And then I'm just going to eyeball that area so that when I apply the tab there, it's pretty much in the center. It's going to be very, very close. And that folds up, like I mentioned earlier, and then what we're going to do is prepare the stamped image. So because it's Copic colored, it looks really ugly on the other side, so that's why I saved that yellow banana split circle that we cut out earlier, because that's what I use to attach to the back of it, and that will give it a finished look no matter what direction you're looking at it. And now on this tab I've applied some glue, and then it's a matter of setting the stamped image in the middle of the circle and holding that till it grips it, and you've got your pop-up feature now. You'll notice it kind of dangles there, so I'm going to create a little stopper for it. I used one of the sentiments in this stamp set that says, "Sorry, I totally forgot." And I made another sentiment that says "Happy Birthday" up there. It's just a flag style. The flag is going to go on the front. I just applied some glue to that and put it straight onto the card. And then later, as you'll see in the pictures, I added some additional bling. There are some gems in orange that I applied around here. And that makes it a really pretty card on the front. On the inside, I'm going to take the sentiment I created and put it on foam tape, and then I'm going to figure out where to place it so that the stamped image can be just tucked behind it and kind of get enough frictional leverage there to stay in place, just like that. So now when you open it up, it pops up and you just tuck it behind the sentiment and it stays in place. I love this card. It's very simple to do. It's got quite a surprise to the recipient, and I think it's going to be a card I make pretty regularly. I just really enjoy this style. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you learned something with me. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and I always appreciate a comment. That really makes me feel great. If you want to watch some more videos from me or tutorials, I've got some choices here that you can watch, and I hope you'll do that. Well, thanks again, everyone. Take care. I'll be back soon with a new video.